In this video, we're going to take a look at our understanding of the atom and atomic structure. And that might not sound very exciting, but you could also think of it like this is what everything is made of. And since the beginning of human history, we've been wondering what everything is made of. There's some fascinating stories about the scientists and their personalities, their ideas, their experiments that built on other experiments. But these videos are going to be quite short and to the point, and we're just going to focus on some of the key ideas. The ancient Greeks had the idea that if you took matter and you cut it up and cut it up and cut it up, eventually you would get to a point where you couldn't divide it any further. In fact, the word atom comes from the Greek word atomos, which means indivisible. Or something to that effect. Um, for hundreds of years, our understanding of the atom didn't really change all that much. In the early 1800s, late 1700s, scientists started doing some experiments and following the scientific method, and this is sort of the birth of um, the modern scientific method. So John Dalton was a scientist who came up with this atomic theory. And again, he couldn't see atoms, um, but he said that all matter is made of atoms, and they are particles too small to see. Okay, now these days, is that still true? Sort of. We can't really see too much of an atom, but we do have some electron microscopes that will allow us to sort of scan the surface of atoms. And so we can see their general shape, but we can't really see any detail. The second part of Dalton's theory is that each element has its own kind of atom. Atoms of the same element have the same mass. Okay, is that still true? Generally, yes, but we do have something called isotopes, which we'll talk about later. So we're just going to write except for isotopes. Isotopes are atoms of the same element that actually have different masses, and that's because they have different numbers of neutrons in the nucleus. Okay, but we'll get to that later. But generally, it's true. Dalton also had the idea of compounds. He did some experiments to come up with some formulas for compounds. He called them compound atoms. So, for example, H2O or water, Dalton would have called that a compound atom. We now call these compound atoms, we call them molecules now. In the fourth part of Dalton's theory, atoms cannot be created or destroyed. Is that true? Well, more or less, yes, but again, there are some exceptions, except for nuclear reactions. Okay, so in a nuclear reaction, the atoms actually change and new elements are formed. So you could get one atom that is splitting into two smaller atoms. So in that sense, you could say that atoms can be created. Okay, in the next video, we're going to take a look at the different parts of an atom, also called subatomic particles.